They say soldiers never truly come home. Their wars follow them, ghosts lurking in quiet rooms and deserted streets. This town forgotten by maps, and Mercy knows those ghosts well. Millbrook sleeps beneath a dying flag where shadows outnumber souls and hope bleeds dry under a sun that offers no forgiveness. But today that silence shatters. Chrome Thunder gasoline threats men who've forgotten honor and replaced it with vengeance. Today an old soldier must choose between peace and the violent echoes of duty. Because some battles don't end when the shooting stops, they just wait patient until you're ready to remember who you were and fight again. The sun bled orange across the Arizona desert. Millbrook sat like a forgotten wound in the vastness. Cracked asphalt, boarded windows, the kind of place America drives past without slowing down. Samuel Reeves stood in his doorway at 600 sharp. Every morning, same ritual for 15 years. His weathered hands gripped the rope. The flag climbed the pole with military precision, red, white, and blue against the dying sky. No wind to make it dance. It hung like a prayer no one remembered how to answer. 68 years old, salt and pepper beard, eyes that had seen too much and said too little. The townspeople called him Sam the Mechanic now. They'd forgotten the lieutenant colonel bars he'd left in a footlocker years ago. His garage sat across from Elena's cafe. Two survivors holding up opposite corners of a ghost town. The bell above Elena's door chimed as the first customer stumbled in. Jerry Walsh, unemployment check burning a hole in his pocket, eyes already hunting for something to dull the edge. Elena Martinez poured coffee without looking up. 45 years old, nurse's hands that still shook sometimes when sirens wailed past. Her husband had come home from Iraq whole, had died 3 years later with a gun in his mouth and her name on his lips. Morning, Jerry. Morning, Elena, the usual. Coffee. Black. Like everything else in Millbrook. Sam's wrench slipped, skinned knuckles. The engine of Mrs. Patterson's Buick glared at him like an accusation. He'd fixed this same carburetor 7 times. She couldn't afford a new car. He couldn't afford to charge her properly. The Iron Serpent MC announced itself with thunder, 8 Harleys, chrome and leather, and barely contained violence. They rolled down Main Street like a plague of locusts. The lead rider wore death's head patches and 20 years of bad decisions. Victor Kane, Viper to his brothers, 42 years old, dishonorably discharged from the Marines for conduct unbecoming. War crimes they couldn't quite prove, but everyone knew about. His bike coughed to silence outside Elena's cafe. The bell chimed again. This time it sounded like a funeral dirge. Kane filled the doorway, 6'2", tattoos crawling up his neck like ivy on a gravestone. His eyes found the small American flag Elena kept behind the register. Well, well, another patriot. Elena's hand moved toward the baseball bat under the counter. Coffee. Information. We're expanding operations. This town's going to start paying protection. For its own good. We don't need protection. Kane's laugh had no humor in it. Lady, look around. This place is already dead. We're just here to make it official. Across the street, Sam heard voices rising. He set down his wrench, walked to the window, saw Kane's crew spreading out like they owned the place, which Sam supposed they soon would. The morning passed in small violations. Kane's men visited every business on Main Street, the hardware store, the pharmacy, the small market where Mrs. Chen sold groceries to families who paid in food stamps and hope. Each visit ended the same way: money, protection, or problems. Sam watched from his garage. His hands stayed clean. His flag stayed up. His ghost stayed quiet. For now, Elena closed early, locked the door while Kane's crew still prowled the streets. She'd seen this before. In the refugee camps outside Mosul, predators always came for the weak first. She knocked on Sam's garage door as the sun died. They'll be back tomorrow. Sam nodded, didn't look up from the engine he was rebuilding. I know. Sheriff's department won't help. Not against 8 of them. I know. Sam. Her voice carried 15 years of careful friendship. What are we going to do? Finally, he looked at her, eyes like winter mornings. We survive, like always. But Elena saw something else there, something she'd seen in her husband's eyes during those last months. The look of a man measuring the distance between who he was and who he used to be. Night fell on Millbrook like a curtain. Most folks locked their doors early. The streetlights worked in patches, long stretches of darkness between pools of sickly yellow. Sam sat on his porch, bottle of beer getting warm in his hands. The flag hung limp in the still air. In the dark, it looked like a shroud. His phone rang. Unknown number. Reeves. Sam, it's Tyler Morrison. The beer slipped from Sam's fingers, shattered on concrete. The name hit him like shrapnel. Sergeant Mike Morrison, 2nd Squad, KIA 15 years ago. Body never recovered. Tyler, Mike Morrison was my dad. I'm in town. With some friends. We heard you might need help. Sam's throat went dry. Son, you need to leave. Tonight. Can't do that. See, my friends and we've got some business to settle. About respect, about flags, about old debts. The line went dead. Sam stared at the phone. 21 years old Tyler would be now. Just a kid when his father shipped out for the last time. Just a kid when Sam came home alone. He walked inside, pulled a footlocker from under his bed. The combination was scorched into his memory. 8 numbers. The date 8 good men died because their CO made a choice. Inside dress blues that would never fit again. Ribbons and medals he'd never worn since. And at the bottom, wrapped in oilcloth, a Colt 45 that had never let him down, until the day it mattered most. Sam cleaned the weapon by muscle memory, loaded 7 rounds, left the chamber empty. Old habits died hard. Dead soldiers didn't die at all. Morning came too soon and not soon enough. Sam stood at his flagpole. Same ritual, different weight. The rope felt heavier in his hands. The flag climbed slower toward heaven. Elena emerged from her cafe, saw his face. You look like hell. Feel worse. Want to talk about it? Sam watched the flag find its place at the top of the pole. You ever wonder what it means, that flag? Same thing it always meant, I guess. I used to think that. Used to think it meant we were the good guys, that what we did over there mattered. Elena waited. She'd learned patience in the burn wards of Landstuhl. Some wounds took time to surface. Lost 8 men my last tour. My fault. My decision. Sam's voice stayed level, professional, like he was briefing a superior officer. Came home to parades and thank yous. Pin a medal on the hero. Shake his hand. Send him on his way. Sam, flag means different things to different people, Elena. To me, it's 8 ghosts I can't lay to rest. The sound of motorcycles cut through the morning air. Closer this time, more of them. Kane's crew had doubled overnight. 16 bikes now. Reinforcements from Phoenix. Men with hollow eyes and nothing left to lose. They formed a semicircle around Sam's garage. Engines ticking in the heat. Kane dismounted slow, made a show of it. You the mechanic? Sam set down his coffee cup. I fix things that are broken. Funny. See, we got something broken too. It's called respect. Kane gestured to the flag. That rag you fly every morning, it's disrespectful to real Americans. Real Americans. Men who fought, bled, sacrificed. Kane's chest puffed with borrowed pride. Not some grease monkey playing soldier in his backyard. Sam's hand stayed steady. You serve like a Marines, 2 tours, Fallujah, Ramadi, you Army, 3 tours, various locations. Kane stepped closer, smelled like motor oil and stale beer, and barely controlled rage. Then you know what that flag means, what it costs. I do. So you'll understand why I can't let you keep flying it. The desert held its breath. Even the wind went still. Sam looked at Kane's crew, young faces mostly. Kids playing dress-up in leather and chrome, looking for something to believe in, something to belong to. But not Kane. Kane's eyes held the particular emptiness of a man who'd crossed lines he couldn't uncross, who'd done things in the dark that followed him into daylight. What do you want? Kane smiled. Predator recognizing prey. Respect. You take down that flag right now. On your knees. Show this town who's really in charge. And if I don't, then we show them for you. Sam looked at the flag. 48 stars. They'd changed it since his war. Added Alaska and Hawaii, made it bigger, brighter. But the ghost stayed the same. He walked to the flagpole, hands on the rope. Kane's crew tensed, waiting for submission. For the moment their leader broke another man's pride. Sam stopped. "You want to take down this flag?" "That's right. Look me in the eyes while you do it." Kane blinked. "What? This flag? It's not just cloth. It's the burial shroud for 8 men I couldn't bring home. 8 fathers who'll never see their kids graduate. 8 husbands who'll never hold their wives again." Sam's voice stayed level, conversational, but something in it made Kane's crew shift uneasily. "So if you want to burn it, go ahead. But you'll look me in the eyes when you do. You tell those 8 ghosts why your hurt matters more than theirs." Kane's hand dropped to the pistol on his hip. "You threatening me, old man?" "I'm telling you a fact. You touch that flag, you're not just disrespecting me. You're pissing on graves of better men than either of us will ever be." The standoff stretched, heat shimmer rising from asphalt. Someone's motorcycle ticked as it cooled. Then Tyler Morrison stepped out from behind the garage. 21 years old. His father's eyes, his father's stubborn jaw, iron serpent patches on his vest. But something else in his expression, something Kane couldn't read. "Tyler," Kane's voice carried warning. "We talked about this." "Yeah, we did." Tyler looked at Sam. "You, Samuel Reeves, Lieutenant Colonel, retired. Just Sam now. My father was Mike Morrison, Sergeant, 2nd Squad." Sam felt the words like a physical blow. "Tyler. You remember him. Every day." Kane watched the exchange with growing irritation. "Tyler, we got business here." But Tyler ignored him, kept his eyes on Sam. "Tell me how he died." The question hung in the desert air like heat lightning. Sam saw Elena emerge from her cafe, saw curtains twitch in nearby windows, the whole town holding its breath. "IED convoy escort mission outside Kandahar. He died doing his duty." "Bullshit." The word cracked like a whip. Kane smiled. Finally, the boy was showing proper hate. "Bullshit," Tyler repeated. "My mom got a different story. From the army. From the other wives. Want to know what really happened?" Sam said nothing. "Patrol got ambushed. You had 2 choices. Follow orders and stick to the route, or break radio silence and call for backup." Tyler's voice shook with 15 years of buried rage. "You chose orders. 8 men died because you were too chicken shit to take responsibility." Elena gasped. Sam felt the words hit home like sniper rounds. True enough to hurt, false enough to fester. "That's not." "My father wrote letters home. Read them after he died. Know what he said about you, said you were the best CO he ever served under. Said if something happened to him, it wouldn't be your fault." Kane stepped forward. "Tyler, what the hell are you?" "Said if he died, it would be in the hands of the man he trusted most." Tyler's voice broke. "Samuel Reeves." The revelation hit like an earthquake. Kane's face went white with fury. His carefully orchestrated humiliation was crumbling. Tyler reached into his jacket. Sam tensed. But the young man pulled out an envelope, yellow with age, postmarked Kabul. "He wrote this the night before he died. Made me promise to deliver it if I ever found you." Sam's hands shook as he took the letter. 15 years of guilt and grief compressed into a few ounces of paper. He didn't need to read it, could feel the weight of absolution in the yellowed pages. Kane saw his moment slipping away. "Tyler, stand down." Pinum. But Tyler was already walking away, toward his bike, away from the Iron Serpent, away from 15 years of misdirected hatred. "Where do you think you're going?" Kane's voice climbed toward hysteria. Tyler threw his colors on the ground. The death's head patches landed in the dust like shed skin. "Home. To read my father's real letters. To stop hating the wrong man." Kane's gun cleared leather, smooth as silk. "Nobody walks away from the serpent." The shot echoed across the desert, but Tyler kept walking. The bullet went wide, into Sam's garage door. An accusation and a promise. Kane turned the gun on Sam. "This isn't over, old man. We'll be back tonight. With fire. See how brave you are when this whole town's burning." They mounted up in a thunder of chrome and rage. 16 bikes disappearing into heat shimmer, but Kane's promise hung in the air like smoke. Elena ran to Sam. "Are you hurt?" He looked at the letter in his hands, at the flag still flying overhead, at Tyler's abandoned colors blowing across Main Street like tumbleweeds. No, but I will be. That evening, Sam sat in his garage. The letter lay open on his workbench. Mike Morrison's handwriting. Strong, clear, like the man himself. Sam, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead, and you're probably blaming yourself. Don't. We all knew the risks. We all chose to be here. But if something happens to me, I need you to know you're the best CO I ever served under. You brought more men home than anyone had a right to expect. If I don't make it, it's not on you. It's on the war. Take care of my boy. Tell him his dad was proud to serve under Samuel Reeves. Tell him heroes aren't the ones who don't get scared. Heroes are the ones who get scared and do their duty anyway. You're a hero, Sam. Don't let anyone tell you different. Mike Sam folded the letter carefully, put it in his shirt pocket, close to his heart. Then he reached for his phone, found a number he hadn't called in 15 years. Colonel Sterling, it's Sam Reeves. I need help. The voice on the other end was gruff, familiar. Sam, Jesus. Thought you were dead. Not yet, but I might be soon. Outside, the flag hung motionless in the still air, like a signal fire in the darkness, like a call to arms that only ghosts could hear. The Iron Serpent would return with the night, but Sam Reeves wouldn't face them alone. Not anymore. The old soldier was going back to war. The phone call lasted 17 minutes. Sam said little. Sterling asked fewer questions than expected. When soldiers call for help, explanations come later. 48 hours. Sterling's voice crackled through 15 years of silence. Maybe less. Can you hold that long? Sam looked through his garage window. The street lay empty except for shadows. Have to. Sam. Sterling's voice softened. Why now? Why break 15 years of silence? The question hung between them. Sam touched the letter in his pocket. Mike Morrison's words. A dead man's faith in a broken leader. Because I finally remembered who I used to be. Dawn came gray and cold. No ceremony this time. Sam raised the flag in silence. His hands moved with military precision, but his eyes scanned the horizon, looking for dust clouds, chrome glinting in sunlight, death riding Harleys. Elena appeared at his elbow, coffee in one hand, worry lines around her eyes. Sleep at all. Some lie. He'd spent the night cleaning weapons, checking sight lines, planning fields of fire. Old habits, useful habits. Kane will come back. I know. With more men. Probably. Elena studied his face, saw something there she hadn't seen before. You're different this morning. Sam accepted the coffee. Hot, black, real. Yesterday I was a mechanic playing soldier. Today I'm a soldier fixing broken things. What changed? He pulled out Mike Morrison's letter, handed it to her, watched her read, saw her eyes widen at the words about heroes and duty and pride. Jesus, Sam. 15 years I carried those ghosts. 15 years thinking I failed them. He folded the letter carefully. Turns out they never stopped believing in me, even when I stopped believing in myself. The sound of engines drifted across the desert. Not motorcycles, trucks, big ones. Military diesel growl that made Sam's chest tighten with recognition. They came from the east. 3 vehicles. Dust plumes trailing like battle flags. The lead truck was a modified Humvee, desert tan paint job, no markings. The kind of vehicle that didn't officially exist. The convoy stopped in front of Sam's garage. Engines ticked in the morning heat. Doors opened with coordinated precision. David Sterling climbed out first, 65 years old, hairline in full retreat, but his shoulders still carried parade ground authority. Colonel's eagles might be gone, but command presence lasted forever. Sam, Hawk, Xian. They shook hands like old warriors, firm grips, direct eye contact, measuring the years between then and now. The others emerged from the vehicles, 9 men and women, different ages, different races, different backgrounds. But they moved with the same lethal grace, the same quiet alertness. Professional soldiers, even out of uniform. Sterling gestured to his team. You called for backup. This is what I could gather on short notice. Sam studied the faces, recognized the type, if not the individuals. Special Forces, Rangers, Marines. The kind of soldiers who didn't exist in official records, but appeared when presidents needed problems solved quietly. Elena Martinez, he said. She runs the cafe. Patch her people up if things go sideways. Elena stepped forward, extended her hand to Sterling. Former Army nurse. 2 tours. Combat medic. Sterling smiled, the first genuine warmth Sam had seen from him. Ma'am, pleasure to serve with you again. The team spread out with practiced efficiency, checking angles, identifying cover positions, noting escape routes. In 60 seconds, they'd turned Main Street into a tactical assessment. Sterling pulled Sam aside. Brief me. Sam laid out the situation. Iron Serpent MC. Protection racket. Kane's threats. The confrontation over the flag. Tyler Morrison's revelation and departure. Sterling listened without interruption. When Sam finished, the colonel was quiet for a long moment. This isn't about the town. What do you mean? You didn't call us to save Millbrook. You called because you want to die with that flag instead of living without it. The accusation hit home. Sam felt heat rise in his chest. That's not bullshit. Sterling's voice carried command authority. I've known you for 20 years. You're not a hero, Sam. You're a guilty man looking for absolution, and you're willing to get these people killed to find it. Elna stepped between them. That's enough. Sterling looked at her with surprise. Civilians didn't interrupt colonel-to-colonel conversations. You don't know him, she continued. Don't know what he's done for this town, for these people. Sam Reeves has been holding this place together for 15 years. Not looking for glory, not seeking forgiveness, just quietly doing what needed doing. She turned to Sam. And you. Stop carrying ghosts. The dead don't need your guilt. The living need your leadership. The moment stretched. 2 old soldiers, 1 truth-telling nurse. 15 years of unspoken pain balanced on a knife's edge. Sterling broke first, smiled ruefully. Goddamn, Sam. Where'd you find this one? She found me. Smart woman. Sterling extended his hand to Elena. Ma'am, you just did what 3 Army psychiatrists couldn't. Thank you. But before Sam could respond, one of Sterling's team approached. A woman in her 40s, Latina, scars along her jawline that spoke of close-quarters combat. Colonel, we've got movement. 8 bikes inbound from the north. Armed riders. Sterling checked his watch. 0900, early for a social call. Sam felt the familiar pre-combat calm descend. Heart rate steady, breathing controlled, time slowing to tactical speed. Tyler. The young man appeared at the edge of town. Walking, no bike, no colors. Just Mike Morrison's son coming home to face the consequences of his choices. Kane's crew swept down Main Street like a plague of locusts, but they stopped short of Sam's garage, engines idling, waiting for orders. Kane dismounted slow, made a show of it, but his eyes were different now, desperate, a leader whose authority had been challenged in front of his men. Where is he? Kane's voice carried across the empty street. Where's the little traitor? Tyler stepped into view, hands empty, no weapons visible, but something in his posture said he'd made peace with whatever came next. Right here, Kane. You humiliated me yesterday, made me look weak in front of my brothers. I told the truth. Kane drew his pistol, aimed it at Tyler's chest. Truth gets you killed in my world. Sam started forward. Sterling caught his arm. Wait, he's just a kid. He's a man making his own choices. Let him. Tyler stood his ground. You want to shoot me, go ahead. But everyone here will know what you really are. A coward who kills kids for telling uncomfortable truths. Kane's gun hand trembled. His crew watched with growing unease. This wasn't the strong leadership they'd signed up for. You think you're better than us? Kane's voice climbed toward hysteria. Think your daddy's sacrifice makes you special? No, but it makes me free. Tyler reached into his jacket. Kane tensed, but the young man pulled out more letters. A bundle tied with ribbon. My father's letters. All of them. Want to hear what he really thought about heroes? Kane's face went white. His crew leaned forward. Even killers loved a good story. Tyler began to read. Mike Morrison's voice from beyond the grave. Stories of courage under fire, of leaders who cared more about their men than their careers, of Lieutenant Colonel Sam Reeves who'd brought more soldiers home than anyone had a right to expect. Kane's gun wavered, his authority crumbling with every word. That's when Sterling made his move. The old colonel stepped into the street, hands empty, no weapons visible. But something in his bearing made Kane's entire crew shift nervously. Victor Kane, former Marine, dishonorably discharged for conduct unbecoming. Kane spun toward the new voice. Who the hell are you? Someone who knows your service record, Fallujah, civilian casualties, women and children. That ring any bells? Kane's face went ashen. You don't know what you're talking about. Task Force 6-1, November 2006, house-to-house searches. You were supposed to clear buildings. Instead, you executed families. The words hit Kane like artillery shells. His crew began backing away. Even criminals had lines they wouldn't cross. That's classified. Nothing's classified when you disgrace the uniform? Sterling's voice carried absolute authority. You're not a veteran, Kane. You're a war criminal playing dress-up. Kane raised his gun toward Sterling. Shut your mouth. But the damage was done. His crew saw him now for what he really was. Not a warrior, not a leader, just a broken man using violence to fill the empty spaces where honor should have been. Tyler seized the moment. This is who you follow, a man who murders innocence and calls it service. One by one, Kane's riders started their engines. Not for attack, for retreat. Even outlaws had standards. Kane found himself alone in the street, gun in hand. Authority evaporated, his carefully constructed world collapsing around him. You're all traitors, he screamed at his departing crew. Cowards! But they were already gone, dust clouds marking their exodus from Millbrook, from Kane, from a leader who'd revealed himself unworthy of following. Kane turned the gun on Tyler, then on Sterling, then on Sam. His hands shook with impotent rage. This isn't over, Sterling smiled, cold as winter. Yes, it is. That's when Kane noticed them. Sterling's team, positioned with tactical precision, weapons trained, professional soldiers who'd made careers of ending men like him. Kane's gun dropped to his side. The fight went out of him like air from a punctured tire. You can't kill me, too many witnesses. Who said anything about killing? Sterling's voice stayed conversational. We're going to let you ride out of here, alive, defeated, a cautionary tale about what happens when cowards pretend to be warriors. Kane holstered his weapon, climbed onto his bike, started the engine with hands that still trembled. But as he prepared to leave, he looked at Sam one last time. You think you won something here? This town's still dying. These people are still broken. One flag doesn't change that. Sam met his gaze. Maybe not, but it's a start. Kane gunned his engine, disappeared into the desert, a defeated predator seeking easier prey. The silence that followed felt different, not empty, expectant. Tyler approached Sam slowly. Mr. Reeves. Just Sam. I owe you an apology for yesterday, for believing the wrong story. Sam shook his head. You don't owe me anything. You just saved this town. Maybe saved yourself too. Tyler looked at the letters in his hands. His father's words. His father's faith. What do I do now? Elena stepped forward. You could start by helping us rebuild. This town needs young people who remember what courage looks like. Tyler nodded. I'd like that. Sterling gathered his team. Mission accomplished. Time to fade back into whatever shadows they'd emerged from. But as they prepared to leave, he pulled Sam aside. We're not done, you and I. What do you mean? There's work out there, towns like this one. People who need help, veterans who've lost their way. Sterling's eyes held possibility. You interested in making a difference? Sam looked at the flag still flying over his garage, at Elena organizing medical supplies, at Tyler reading his father's letters to anyone who'd listen. I've got 8 promises to keep first, but after that, he extended his hand to Sterling. Call me. They shook hands like old warriors, brothers in arms, guardians of something larger than themselves. As Sterling's convoy disappeared into the desert, Sam found himself alone with Elena and Tyler, 3 survivors of different wars, Three people ready to stop running from their past. Elena touched his arm. So what now? Sam looked at his garage, at the flag, at the town stretching out beyond them. Broken but not beaten. Wounded but still breathing. Now we fix things. That evening, Sam sat on his porch. The flag hung quiet in the still air, but it looked different somehow. Less like a shroud, more like a beacon. Tyler appeared with a toolbox. Thought you might need help with the garage door. Kane's bullet left a pretty good hole. Appreciate it? They worked in comfortable silence, old soldier and young man, bridging 15 years of guilt and grief with simple labor. Elena brought sandwiches as the sun died. They ate on the porch, watching the stars emerge over Millbrook. Three people who'd found each other in the ruins of their individual wars. Tell me about my father, Tyler said finally. The real stories, not the official reports. Sam smiled. For the first time in 15 years, the memories didn't hurt. Your father was the best soldier I ever served with. Brave, loyal, funny as hell when he wanted to be. Sam's voice grew warm with remembrance. Want to know what he used to say about courage? Tyler leaned forward, hungry for connection with a father he'd barely known. He said courage isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing your job anyway. About taking care of the people next to you no matter what. Sounds like him. It was him. Every day, every mission. Sam looked at Tyler directly. You've got his eyes, his stubborn streak too. Tyler laughed, the first genuine laughter Millbrook had heard in years. As the night deepened, Sam found himself thinking about tomorrow, about the garage that needed fixing, the town that needed healing, the flag that needed raising. For 15 years, he'd been a mechanic playing soldier. Now he was remembering how to be a soldier, fixing broken things, starting with himself. The ghosts were still there. They always would be. But they felt different now. Less like accusations. More like guardian spirits. 8 good men watching over the choices their CO made in their memory. Sam touched the letter in his pocket. Mike Morrison's faith. His belief that heroes weren't born fearless. They were made by ordinary people doing extraordinary things when it mattered most. Tomorrow he'd raise the flag again. But tonight, for the first time in 15 years, Sam Reeves slept without nightmares. The old soldier was finally coming home. 3 weeks passed in deceptive peace. Tyler moved into the apartment above Elena's cafe. Days spent learning to fix engines under Sam's patient guidance. Evenings reading his father's letters aloud to anyone who'd listen. Stories of brotherhood, sacrifice. The weight of doing right when wrong felt easier. The town began to breathe again. Mrs. Chen reopened her market. Jerry Walsh found work helping Sam in the garage. Small victories, quiet healing. But Sam knew better than to trust silence. Predators like Kane didn't disappear. They regrouped. Sterling's team had melted back into whatever shadows they'd emerged from. But their message remained clear. Touch this town. Face the consequences. Sam raised the flag each morning with new purpose. No longer a shroud, not yet a celebration. Something between grief and hope. On the 22nd day, the silence broke. Tyler saw them first. Dust cloud on the horizon. Too big for cars. Too organized for coincidence. Sam, his voice carried across the garage. Calm, alert, his father's son learning to be a soldier. Sam emerged from under Mrs. Patterson's Buick, wiped his hands on an oil-stained rag, studied the approaching vehicles. Motorcycles, lots of them. Chrome glinting in afternoon sun like scales on a serpent. Elena, Tyler called. Code red. She appeared in her doorway, saw the dust cloud, disappeared back inside. When she emerged, she carried a medical bag and the baseball bat that had become legendary among the local teenagers. Kane returned with an army, 40 bikes, maybe more. Iron Serpent reinforcements from Phoenix, Tucson, Albuquerque. Every chapter within 500 miles. Men with nothing to lose and everything to prove. They swept into Millbrook like a plague of locusts, filled Main Street with chrome and leather, and barely contained violence. Engines revving in mechanical fury. Kane dismounted in front of Sam's garage. 3 weeks had changed him. Thinner, hungrier, desperate. The kind of desperate that made men do unforgivable things. Miss me, old man. Sam set down his tools, walked to the flagpole, placed his hand on the rope. Thought you'd learned your lesson. Kane laughed. No humor in it. Lesson you humiliated me, cost me respect. Respect I'm here to take back. His army spread out behind him, blocking escape routes, surrounding Elena's cafe. Professional intimidation from men who'd made careers of violence. See, Sam, you made a mistake. You thought this was about one flag in one shitty town, but it's bigger than that. Kane's voice carried messianic fervor. It's about order, hierarchy, knowing your place in the food chain. Elena emerged from her cafe. Tyler flanked her, both armed, both ready. David facing Goliath with rocks and determination. Let them go, Sam said quietly. This is between us. No. See, that's where you're wrong. Kane gestured to his army. This is about witnesses, about sending a message, about what happens when someone challenges the natural order. Kane reached into his saddlebag, pulled out a jerry can. Gasoline sloshed inside like liquid death. I'm going to burn this town, building by building, starting with that cafe. That pretty little nurse is going to watch everything she loves turn to ash. Sam's hand tightened on the flag rope. You hurt her, I'll kill you. With what your arthritis, your guilt. Kane unscrewed the gas cap. You're a broken-down mechanic playing soldier. I'm a Marine with 40 brothers. Do the math. That's when Tyler stepped forward. Kane, the Iron Serpent leader turned, saw Mike Morrison's son standing in the street, hands empty, no weapons visible. But something in his posture had changed. Well, well, the traitor returns. I'm not a traitor, I'm my father's son. Kane smiled. Predator scenting wounded prey. Your father was a loser, died for nothing in a desert that didn't want him. My father died for his brothers, for people like Sam, for the idea that some things are worth fighting for. Tyler began walking forward, slow, deliberate. His father's letters clutched in his left hand. You want to know what courage looks like? It's not riding with 40 men to intimidate one old soldier. It's standing alone when everyone else runs. Kane's crew shifted uneasily. The kid was making them look bad, making their leader look small. Big words from a little boy. I'm not little anymore. Tyler stopped 10 feet from Kane, close enough to see the desperation in the older man's eyes, the fear beneath the bravado. You're scared. Scared that maybe you're not the big bad wolf after all. Scared that underneath all the leather and chrome, you're just another broken veteran who never learned how to come home. Kane's face went purple with rage. Shut your mouth. My father came home broken too. PTSD, nightmares, the whole package. But you know what he didn't do. He didn't take it out on innocent people. He didn't pretend his pain gave him the right to hurt others. Kane raised the gas can, prepared to douse Tyler with gasoline, make an example that would echo through outlaw legend. But Sam was already moving. 15 years of guilt burned away in an instant, replaced by crystal clarity, by purpose, by the simple mathematics of protection. His .45 cleared leather, smooth as silk, professional draw, no wasted motion. Kane! The Iron Serpent leader spun, gas can still in hand, eyes wide with sudden understanding. You're going to put down that can. You're going to get on your bike. You're going to ride out of here and never come back. Kane's crew tensed, 40 men against one. But something in Sam's voice gave them pause, the tone of a man who'd made harder choices in darker places. You think you can take all of us? Sam's smile held no warmth. I don't have to take all of you. Just you. Kane looked at the gun, at Sam's steady hands, at 15 years of guilt transformed into focused purpose. You shoot me, my boys will burn this place to the ground. Maybe, but you'll be too dead to enjoy it. Standoff, desert heat, 40 engines ticking in the silence. That's when Elena made her move. She stepped between Sam and Kane, hands empty. No weapons. Just a nurse who'd spent too many years patching up the damage men did to each other. Enough. Kane blinked. Lady, I need to tell you something. Elena's voice carried absolute authority. I've seen war. Real war. Not this playground bullying you call brotherhood. I've held dying soldiers. Listen to their last words. Know what they talk about. Kane said nothing. Home, family, the people they love. Not revenge, not respect. Not proving how tough they are. Elena stepped closer. They talk about forgiveness, about second chances, about finding peace. She looked at Kane's crew. 40 men playing at being warriors. How many of you have families, kids who won't return your calls? Wives who change the locks? Parents who pretend you don't exist? Uncomfortable shifting, downcast eyes, truth hitting home like shrapnel. This isn't brotherhood. It's a support group for men too proud to admit they're broken, too scared to ask for help. Kane's face twisted with rage. Shut up! He raised the gas can to strike her, but Tyler was faster. Mike Morrison's son tackled Kane around the waist, drove him into the dirt. Gasoline splashed across asphalt like spilled blood. The two men rolled, grappled. Kane had 40 pounds and 15 years of violence, but Tyler had youth and righteous fury and his father's stubborn determination. Kane's gun came up, aimed at Tyler's chest. Sam's 45 barked once. Kane's weapon spun away into the dust. The Iron Serpent leader clutched his shattered wrist, screaming. Next one goes center mass, Sam said quietly. But Kane wasn't finished. With his good hand, he pulled a knife. Ceramic blade, invisible to metal detectors, the kind of weapon that left no trace. He lunged at Tyler, desperation making him fast. Deadly. Sam's second shot took him in the shoulder, spun him around, but didn't stop him. Kane crashed into Tyler. Both men went down. The knife gleamed in afternoon sun, seeking flesh, finding it. Tyler cried out, blood spreading across his shirt. Sam's third shot ended it. Kane collapsed. The knife fell from a nerveless fingers. His eyes went wide with surprise, then empty. Victor Kane, former Marine, war criminal, leader of men who'd confused violence with strength, dead in the dust of a town that refused to kneel. Silence fell over Main Street, 40 outlaws staring at their fallen leader, at the old soldier who'd ended him, at the young man bleeding in the dirt. Elena ran to Tyler, pressed her hands against the wound. Professional assessment. Superficial, missed everything important. Tyler looked up at Sam. Is he dead? Yes. Good. The Iron Serpent crew faced a choice: avenge their leader, or acknowledge what they'd all seen, that Kane had become everything they joined the club to escape. One by one, they started their engines, not for attack, for departure. The first to leave was a grizzled veteran in his 50s, Iron Cross tattoos, purple heart pin on his vest. He stopped his bike next to Sam. Served in the stand, 10th Mountain. Kane was... He struggled for words. Kane was lost. Had been for years. You did what needed doing. He rode away. Others followed. Men remembering who they'd been before leather and chrome became their identity. Within minutes, Main Street was empty, except for the smell of gasoline and the weight of choices made. Sam holstered his weapon, knelt beside Tyler. How you feeling, son? Like my father would be proud. Elena finished bandaging the wound. You'll live. Probably have a scar to impress the girls. Tyler laughed, winced, laughed again. Worth it. Sam looked at Kane's body, felt nothing. No satisfaction, no regret, just the quiet certainty that some problems could only be solved with finality. Sheriff's deputies arrived an hour later, asked questions, took statements, saw the evidence, 40 witnesses to self-defense. Case closed before it opened. As they loaded Kane's body into the coroner's van, Sheriff Morrison, Tyler's uncle, pulled Sam aside. Mike would be proud of both of you. Just did what needed doing. That's what Mike used to say. Sheriff Morrison tipped his hat. Thank you. Evening fell on Millbrook like a blessing. The flag still flew over Sam's garage. Bullet holes in the building, blood on the asphalt, but the town breathed free air. Tyler sat on Elena's porch, shirt bandaged, color returning to his cheeks, reading another of his father's letters by lamplight. Elena emerged with coffee. How's the patient? Healing, like everything else around here. Sam joined them, brought his own coffee, settled into the third chair like he belonged there. So what now? Tyler asked. Sam considered the question, looked at the flag, at the town, at the two people who'd become family without anyone planning it. Sterling called. There's a town in New Mexico. Similar situation. Veterans who've lost their way. Good people who need help. You going? We're going. If you're interested. Tyler looked at Elena, at Sam, at the father's letters in his hands. Stories of brotherhood, duty, protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Count me in. Elena smiled. Someone's got to patch you boys up when you get in over your heads. They sat in comfortable silence. Three survivors who'd found each other in the ruins of individual wars, ready to help others do the same. Sam's phone buzzed. Text message from Sterling. Another town, another fight. You ready? Sam typed back. We're ready, because that's what soldiers did. They answered the call, protected the innocent, held the line against the darkness. Even after the uniform came off, even when the war followed them home, especially then. The flag hung motionless in the still desert air, red, white, and blue against the star-filled sky. Not a shroud anymore, not quite a celebration, a promise, a covenant between the living and the dead, between who they'd been and who they were becoming. Sam Reeves, former lieutenant colonel, current mechanic, future guardian of broken places. Elena Martinez, healer of bodies and souls. Tyler Morrison, keeper of his father's legacy and his own emerging courage. Three people who'd learned that heroes weren't born fearless. They were made by ordinary individuals doing extraordinary things when it mattered most. And in Millbrook, Arizona, it had mattered. The old soldiers were going back to war, but this time they were fighting for something worth winning. Hope. Epilogue. 6 months later, Sam raised the flag over a new garage in Silver City, New Mexico. Same ritual, different meaning. Elena's cafe sat across the street. Tyler's motorcycle repair shop next door. 3 businesses, 1 mission, helping veterans find their way home. The flag climbed toward heaven on desert wind. 48 stars, 13 stripes, 8 ghosts finally at peace. Mike Morrison's letters sat framed in Tyler's shop. Testaments to courage. Reminders that the fallen never truly died as long as someone remembered their stories. Sam's phone rang, Sterling's voice. Another town. Another fight. You ready? Sam looked at Elena, organizing medical supplies. At Tyler, teaching a young veteran how to rebuild an engine. At the flag flying over people who'd chosen hope over despair. We're ready. Because that's what soldiers did. They answered the call. They held the line. They brought their brothers home. All of them. Even the ones who thought they were lost forever. The war wasn't over. It never really ended. But now they were fighting for the right side. For each other. For the living. For the promise that broken things could be fixed if someone cared enough to try. The flag flew true in the desert wind. A beacon for the lost. A promise to the fallen. A testament to the simple truth that heroes were made not born. Forged in the fires of choice when ordinary people decided to do extraordinary things, when it mattered most. They say wars leave marks invisible to the eye scars, carried quietly beneath uniforms, beneath smiles, beneath silence. Here in the ruins of Millbrook, we found something deeper than scars. We found stories worth remembering, people worth fighting for. Justice came at a cost paid in blood, and courage in bullets and tears. Yet somewhere between what was lost and what we reclaimed, we rediscovered ourselves. An old soldier learned to forgive himself, a young man embraced his father's legacy, and a healer reminded us what real courage looks like. But maybe the greatest victory wasn't chasing away darkness, it was choosing hope, even knowing it could break our hearts again. Because wars don't truly end, and peace isn't the absence of conflict, but the willingness to rebuild from the rubble, to rise each morning, and raise our flag no matter how heavy it feels. Tonight, Millbrook sleeps quieter but never forgets. And perhaps neither should we. Because every life leaves a legacy, every loss holds a lesson. What scars do you carry quietly, and how will you choose to heal